Okay, now moving on to the direct materials budget. The bottom line here, the question that we want to ask with the direct materials budget is to know what should be our direct material purchases. How much direct material do we need to in our production? And if we need to go outside and purchase any additional material so that we can meet our production needs, how much material should we go and purchase? So, to start off, if you want to understand the number of the amount of materials that is required for your production, we will start with how many units do we need to produce. So that will be the first part. And then we will need to know how much material is required to produce a single unit of our products. And so that will give us the direct material that is required for production. Okay, so let's start over there. So how many units are we going to produce? That material is going to come from your production budget. So 410 units for product A, 245,000 units for product B. How much material is required to manufacture each of these units? Well, we're given that information in the data in terms of materials that are required to manufacture each unit: 2 kgs for product A and 3 kgs for product B. And so, how much material do we require for our production? So it's the number of units produced times the number of materials that is required for each unit. So you can see that for product A will require 820 kgs, and for product B will require 735 kgs. So this is what we need for our production. How much material do we want to hold on to at the end of the period so that we can start our production the next period? Do we have any material that we have in beginning inventory? If we do, we need to subtract that so that we will know exactly how much in terms of direct material do we need to go out and buy so that we can meet our production and also be left with a little bit of inventory for the next cycle. Okay, so two pieces of information. How much inventory do we need for direct material to hold on to so that we can start working? If we have any inventory of raw materials at the beginning, we need to subtract that, and that will give us what we need to go and buy in order to meet our production needs. So the units of raw materials at the beginning, that we need to keep at the end: 50,000 for product A, 15,000 for product B. We will subtract any units that we have in the beginning. So any units that we have in the beginning: 40,000 for the product A and 10,000 for product B. And so, I don't want to do that. Let's change that. So the number of units that we need to go and buy, the number of kgs that we need to go and buy: 830 kgs for product A and 740 kgs for product B. And now, how much does each of those cost? That information is in the data. $2 per kg for product A and $3 per kg for product B. And so that will help us arrive to our final answer the final question: how much material do we need to go and purchase, and how much is that going to cost us? So we need 830 kgs at $2 each. That's how much it's gonna cost in the direct material for product A, and then 2,220,000 for the cost for our product B. So in total, our raw material purchases will be 3,880,000. Okay, so that's it with the direct materials budget. So if I were you, I would break it down in a few in little chunks. First of all, it will be answering the question: how much direct material is required to meet our production? Okay, so we know the number of units that need to be produced, the material that's required for each unit. So this is the material that we need for production. And so we'll start over there, and then we'll say, how much material does management intend to hold on to so that they can start their manufacturing process the next cycle? You add that to the material that you need for production. And if you have any material that you have on hand at the beginning, you need to subtract that to get to the material that you need to now go out and purchase. And then how much does each unit cost? Then that will give it the amount, the dollar value for the purchases that are required. Okay, so now that we have the amount for the purchase that's required, before I move on to the next budget, what I like to do is again prepare a schedule, because we will have to pay for these. How are those paid for? I'll prepare a schedule of cash payments. This is not a budget, it's just a schedule of cash payments, something that we're going to use to prepare the cash budget and the balance sheet later. So November, December, we'll do almost something similar to what we did earlier. So we'll say in November, all right. Oops, my bad, I'm starting to cough now. So November direct material purchases. So this is what we're purchasing in total for November. How much is that going to be paid for in cash in November, and how much is going to be paid in cash in December? All right, so let's go and see what the percentage was. We are told that for the direct material, 70% of direct material purchases are paid for in cash in the month in which they're incurred, and the rest are payable in December. All right, so 70% will be paid for in November, and then the 30% will be paid for in December. So likewise, we know that there was something that was direct materials were purchased in October, and at the end of October there was a payable that needed to be paid in November. All right, so we'll go and get that information from the balance sheet. So we'll go to our balance sheet, October balance sheet, accounts payable. So the total cash payments in November will be these for direct material, and about over $1 million in will be payable in December. Okay, so that's it. So again, I've gone over the direct materials purchases budget. You should be able to do that by now. Always remember, it's easy to break it down. And bottom line is, if you're looking at direct material, how much material do I need for production? So you will start with units produced that you need to produce and the number of material that's required. If you have any inventory that you need to hold on hand at the end of the period, add that. If you have any inventory that is available at the beginning, subtract that. That will tell you the number of material you need to go out and purchase, and then find out the total value of your purchases that you need to go and make. So that's the direct materials budget. Now we'll move on to the direct labor budget.